My girlfriend suddenly said, "I donated your sperm to my friend without your permission. She couldn't afford a clinic. Congratulations, you're a dad now." For a few moments, I was completely stunned. My heart was racing, and all I could think was, this is illegal. I immediately called a lawyer, and then a secret was revealed that shook me to my core. Everything I thought I knew about the people I loved was a lie. I work as a senior software developer at a mid-level tech firm in Austin, Texas. I make around $120,000 a year, nothing extravagant, but enough to live comfortably in a nice neighborhood. I'm 32 years old. I've been with my girlfriend for 5 years, engaged for 2. We had plans, a wedding date set for next April, vague conversations about kids somewhere down the line, maybe a house upgrade in a few years. The normal trajectory. The expected path. My girlfriend worked in nonprofit administration, managing budgets and grant applications for an organization focused on family services. She was passionate about helping people, always talking about the work mattering more than the money, and honestly, that passion was one of the reasons I loved her. She seemed to operate from a place of genuine altruism that I envied sometimes. We met through mutual friends at a bar on South Congress Avenue. She was wearing a blue dress. We talked for 3 hours that night about nothing particularly important. Music, books, travel plans we'd never make. By the time we exchanged numbers, I was already imagining what it might be like to know her for a long time. 5 years later, that instinct had proven correct, at least until it violently proved incorrect. Update 1 Tuesday, October 14th. We were on the couch in our living room, which was decorated with art we'd picked out together from local galleries, throws from Pottery Barn, the accumulated softness of a couple who'd been building a life. She'd ordered Thai food, my favorite, pad see ew with extra basil. We were halfway through it when she asked me to pause the TV show we were watching. It was some reality competition where people yelled at each other over nothing, the kind of mindless entertainment that required no emotional energy. "I need to tell you something," she said, setting her food down carefully on the coffee table. Her hands were trembling slightly. I felt my chest tighten immediately. You can sense when someone is about to say something that will change everything. It's like the air pressure drops. I've read about people knowing they're about to get bad news before they hear it, and I always thought that was exaggerated. I was wrong. "What's going on?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "I did something about a year ago. Something I should have asked you about first, but you kept saying no, and I couldn't accept that answer anymore. I was going to tell you, but I kept delaying because I knew you'd be angry." The pad CEW suddenly felt heavy in my stomach. "Tell me what." "My best friend from work. You know her, we've been to dinner with her a few times. She wanted a baby more than anything in the world. She's been trying for years. She's not married, no serious partner, and she couldn't afford the fertility clinics. They were asking for $20,000. She was losing hope. She was talking about accepting that she'd never be a mother, and I couldn't let that happen to her. I knew where this was going, but I needed her to say it. I needed to hear the exact words. So I offered to help. And what that means is I collected samples. Your samples. Over several months, starting about 14 months ago. I stored them and I gave them to her. And she used them. And Marcus, she used my name reflexively, then seemed to realize I hated being called by name in serious moments. I mean, she's pregnant. She's 6 months pregnant, and the baby is biologically yours. The words landed like a physical blow. The room tilted slightly. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears, loud and fast and wrong. "You did what?" My voice came out higher than normal. "You did what?" "I know how it sounds. Do you? Do you actually know? Because what you just described is theft. It's violation. It's illegal. You cannot use someone's genetic material without consent. That's not a gray area. That's a fundamental violation of bodily autonomy." I stood up. Sitting felt unbearable. I needed to move. "Who else knows?" I demanded. "Just her. And my mom." "Your mom? Your mom knew about this." She nodded, looking down at her lap. "And she approved of it. She said I was being generous. She said I was helping someone who desperately needed it." I walked to the kitchen and back. Then to the window. Then back again. My hands were moving through the air like I was searching for something to grab onto. "You cannot just decide to make me a father without my input. You cannot use my genetic material. That's not your choice to make. That's my body. That's my future. That's my legal responsibility for the next 18 years. I know it was wrong. I should have talked to you. Should have? Should have? You should have never done this at all. Full stop. I grabbed my laptop from the side table and searched for family law attorneys in Austin. It was 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday night. I called 3 emergency consultation numbers. The first went to voicemail. The second voicemail was full. The third was answered by a human being, David Chun, a lawyer who worked in family law. I explained the situation in as calm a voice as I could manage, which wasn't very calm. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he said, "First, I'm sorry you're dealing with this. Second, this is complicated in ways you might not expect. You have rights, but you also have obligations. Genetic material is one thing. A child that's being gestated with intent to be raised is another thing entirely. What does that mean in practical terms? It means you probably can't just walk away. It also means you probably can't force her to terminate the pregnancy or give you custody. It's messy, and it requires us to sit down and talk about what your actual goals are here. Can I come in tomorrow? I can fit you in at 2 p.m. I hung up and sat on the edge of the couch, as far from my girlfriend as I could get while still being in the same room. She was crying quietly, but I couldn't bring myself to comfort her. The violation was too fresh. The betrayal was too raw. I'm sleeping in the guest room, I said finally. I grabbed a pillow and a blanket and went upstairs without another word. Update 2: David Chin's office was on the 3rd floor of a building downtown that smelled like old coffee and leather. He was in his mid-50s, with reading glasses on a chain and the exhausted but compassionate look of someone who'd spent decades listening to people's worst moments. I told him everything. The full timeline. How my girlfriend and I met. 5 years of building a life together. The engagement. The plans for a wedding. All of it, leading up to Tuesday night. So let me be clear about the legal situation, David said, leaning back in his chair. Without a written agreement between you and the birth mother, and without anything documented at a fertility clinic, this falls into complicated territory. She's been gestating the baby with the intent to raise it. In Texas law, that carries weight. You likely have genetic rights, but you also likely have genetic responsibilities. What does that mean? It means child support. It probably means you won't be able to terminate your parental rights. It means if she files for acknowledgement of paternity, which she probably will after the child is born, the state will likely enforce it. How much support are we talking? Based on your income, probably somewhere between $300 and $500 a month. It could go higher depending on various factors. I felt my chest constrict. For 18 years. For 18 years. Or until you reach a different agreement with the mother. What about my girlfriend? Can I do anything about her? David paused, choosing his words carefully. Civilly, you could sue for emotional distress, psychological harm, violation of bodily autonomy. You'd have a case, though it's not common. Criminally, depending on jurisdiction and the prosecutor's interpretation, there might be charges related to theft of genetic material, but most prosecutors don't know how to handle it. It's rare enough that precedent is limited. So basically, I'm trapped. You have options. We just need to discuss what they are and what you want to accomplish. I left his office at 4 p.m. with a headache that felt like it had teeth. Update 3: I didn't go home that night. I checked into a La Quinta off the highway, stripped off my clothes, and lay in the bed staring at the popcorn ceiling for hours. My phone kept buzzing. My girlfriend calling. Text messages. My mom, who somehow already knew. My sister. A group chat that had apparently formed between my girlfriend and her friends, including my friends, everyone picking sides based on incomplete information. By the next morning, I'd made a decision. I needed to talk to the friend. Not because I thought it would make me feel better, but because I needed to understand if there was any version of this that made sense beyond pure violation. I texted her, "Can we talk?" She responded immediately, "Yes. Please. I'm sorry. We met at a coffee shop in North Austin, neutral ground." She was visibly pregnant. 6 months meant she was showing significantly, and she looked like she hadn't slept properly in weeks. Her eyes were heavy. Her smile was apologetic. "I know what you must think," she started before I even sat down. "I don't think you know," I said quietly. I wanted to be a mother for 10 years. I'd grieved it. I was alone, making okay money but not $20,000 for fertility clinic money. I'd accepted that maybe it wasn't going to happen. And then your girlfriend offered to help me. I knew. I genuinely knew that it was wrong. But I wanted this so badly that I let the wanting override the knowing. You violated my consent. I did. I absolutely did. And I've been living with that knowledge for 6 months, and it's destroying me from the inside. I lie awake at night thinking about your future anger, your legal options, the fact that I took something from you that was yours to give or withhold. Why should I care how you feel? You shouldn't, she said. That's not why I'm telling you. I'm telling you because it's true. I violated you to get something I wanted. There's no version of this story where we're both okay. One of us has to lose, and it's you. She was right, and the honesty of it was almost worse than if she'd defended herself. Final update, I didn't press criminal charges. My lawyer said the legal outcome was uncertain enough, and the process would drag on for years. Instead, I had him file the paperwork to establish paternity and negotiate a child support arrangement. By mid-January, it was official. I was the legal biological father of a child I'd never met, never intended to create, and never consented to have exist. As for my girlfriend, we ended the engagement in early January. She begged me to reconsider, said she'd only done it out of a misplaced sense of love and generosity, that we could rebuild trust, that people healed from betrayals all the time. But she was wrong about the last part. You can't rebuild something that was fundamentally broken at its foundation. And trust, real trust, requires that the other person respect your autonomy. That had been violated so completely, so deliberately, that recovery felt impossible. We went to mediation to split our assets. It took 4 sessions. We had a joint savings account with about $18,000 in it. She got $9,000, I got $9,000. We owned some furniture we'd bought together. We went through each piece and decided who would keep it. It was the most civilized way to dismantle 5 years of shared life, and it was absolutely brutal because of how civilized it was. There was no screaming. There was no drama. There was just 2 people methodically dividing up the physical evidence of love that had died. She moved back in with her parents. I stayed in the house. My mom came to visit and helped me figure out what to do with the spaces that had been ours: the bedroom, the living room, the kitchen where we'd cooked together on Sunday afternoons. The baby was born on December 18th, healthy, 8 pounds 6 ounces, with a full head of dark hair. My girlfriend, I stopped calling her that after the separation and started calling her by her name when I had to refer to her at all, sent me photos. I barely looked at them the first few times. Eventually, I looked. I could see the resemblance. The nose. The shape of the face. Genetics is a strange thing. This child looked like me, and I'd never held her. By April, 9 months after that Tuesday night, things had settled into a new version of normal. Child support was automatically deducted from my account every month, $4.15, more than my lawyer had estimated. I rarely thought about it because I'd set it to automatic, which was exactly how I wanted to handle it. Out of sight, out of mind, but still present. My therapist, I'd gone back to therapy in February, said I was processing trauma and violation. She said my anger was legitimate. She said I shouldn't rush myself to accept this situation or to find peace with it. She also said healing looked different for everyone, and for some people it never fully arrived. My ex-girlfriend's friend asked if I'd consider being involved in the child's life. A video call when she's old enough to understand. Maybe supervised visits down the line. She framed it carefully, as an option, not a demand. I told her I'd think about it. I'm still thinking. What I know for certain is that the life I planned ended that Tuesday night. The engagement is gone. The girlfriend is gone. The sense that I controlled my own body and my own future is gone. Now I'm just a man who sends money every month to a woman who had his child without his consent, whose life is forever altered by a choice he didn't make. I think sometimes about whether I'll feel differently in 5 years. Whether someday I'll meet this child and feel something other than anger and resignation. Whether the violation will fade enough that forgiveness becomes possible. I don't know. Some days I think maybe. Most days I'm just trying to get through to the next one without thinking about it too much. The worst part isn't the money. It's the knowledge that the people I trusted most, people I loved, made decisions about my life, about my body, about my future, without ever giving me genuine agency in the matter. They felt justified. They felt generous. Their intentions felt pure. But intentions don't fix violations. Love doesn't excuse erasure. I'm still figuring out who I am in the life I didn't choose to have. Edit 1. I ran into my ex-girlfriend at a grocery store last month. We made brief eye contact and then deliberately looked away. That was probably the most honest interaction we've had since the separation was finalized. There's nothing left to say. Edit 2. My lawyer reminded me recently that I have 3 years from the child's birth to press criminal charges. I keep that information in the back of my mind like a door I could theoretically walk through. I don't think I ever will, but knowing it's there matters somehow. Edit 3. I stopped checking my phone for photos of the child. Not out of cruelty, but out of self-preservation. I'm not ready to see her, and I don't owe anyone readiness on their timeline.